Hey guys, welcome to episode 33 of the weekly. We are back here at 3:09 p.m. and I can hear myself. So anyway, everybody introduce yourself because I can't hear anything. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, cool. Hey, I'm going to start off with Mr. Warren Bowman from BW1. He's here and he's going to be talking about some cool stuff. What would you like to introduce Sam.
Yes, you next.
And it's Black _. I don't know how he does this thing anymore.
Right now, my audio is going totally crazy.
Oh, Jesus. All we did was hit live.
Yeah, I know, guys. Anyway, guys, we are live
because we were having some audio gremlins. Thank you, Google Hangouts, and it still isn't working. This is hilarious.
Yes, we're back, and this week, anyway, we've got a lot of stuff this week to talk about. Let us start off with something that happened in Google HQ. Part of the uselessness conversation. A lot of Google employees participated in a walkout, I think at 11 a.m. on Thursday, and they both walked out of the offices because of the report that came out. I think it was in the New York Times, if I'm mistaken. About a payment, a hush money payment of $90 million to an exec for some, I don't want to use the exact wording here, but there was some harassment claims, at least.
Yeah, basically, instead of firing execs, it looks as though Google is couching their landing by, instead of firing them, forcing them to retire, giving them the payouts as though they left the company voluntarily without any scandal, and then not disclosing that there was some kind of sexual harassment claim against them. So it just seems as though Google is protecting its execs at the expense of the employees.
Any thoughts on that, people?
Yeah, this is the wrong climate to be caught doing shenanigans like that. I feel like we've got actually a couple stories this week where I'm not surprised, but I'm still disappointed. And I feel like we're coming to a head with holding these mega corporations to higher standards. They've kind of got carte blanche to operate however they want in what's the best interest for their companies, and that doesn't always gel with what would really be best for society. And we've got to start reconciling some of those discrepancies.
Warren, any thoughts?
Well, eventually it was going to happen, and when they tried to hide this, and I think I brought this up. Was it last week or the week before? We brought this story up, and it seemed to not catch too heavily on mainstream as I think it should have. But now with that walkout, that's definitely gotten more.
That definitely helped, yeah.
Help with more light to the situation. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. They paid somebody to walk off because they probably did an investigation and found out that he was sexually harassing people. And they, instead of dealing with the fallout, they didn't want to deal with Me Too's and all of the stuff. They just try to throw it under the rug and just try to say it never happened, but they do it by paying people off to not really just paying off the exec a ton of money at the cost of the employees' hard work, which is just, it's something that just can't go unchecked. And it's going to be an interesting, going forward with a lot of the companies that fall into the FANG category, how well they're going to be doing going forward with a lot of these just accusations and just misconduct just continuing to pile up. I'm pretty sure this is not going to be the last story that we hear about this. There'll probably be more stories from probably all those companies of misconduct in some way or another, and eventually it's going to have to lead to some type of heavy regulation being, or heavy hand laid down, because they won't regulate themselves.
Yeah, I mean, just echoing everyone's statement, it is definitely the number one. It's the worst time to do this, and every time is the worst time to do this. Doesn't matter whether it's now or before, but of course, it's really highlighted by the kind of environment we're in, and also, the movements that we have with Me Too. But I think what's important here is also looking at the fact that, this goes into a lot of those conversations about tech companies and some, the frat, what is it called? The frat bro, the frat tech
the good
environment. No, good old boys club is
frat bro. They're calling it the
frat bro,
the tech bro,
tech bro, yes, tech bro mentality. That's, you know, a lot of these tech giants have that, you know, is just not good. You've got to understand that, you know, if especially with the way they portray themselves, you know, as being, you know, change for the future, you cannot have these kind of things going on. Look, if an exec is found, if a report comes up and you run it and you see, look, this guy did something completely useless, do the right thing, fire, move on. And you just say, look, we did our research, we found he was guilty or not guilty, either one of the two. At least you've done that, and you look like you've actually done something as a company.
And I think that's the most troubling aspect of these recent disclosures and these recent admissions is, if Google were really looking out for Google, the long-term better fit would be to make an example of bad executives. The short-term cowardly fix is let's try and sweep it under the rug. But we're not in a climate where you can do that permanently. You can't do that in perpetuity. So again, it's even like, I'm frustrated because not only is this a bad look for Google, they did the wrong thing. They didn't do the right thing. And they picked the easiest cowardly option that was still going to make it look 10 times worse for them.
They picked the expensive option. Let's be honest.
The most expensive option, yeah.
Yeah, because they paid the dude, right?
Well, they paid not just Andy Rubin, they paid other folks too.
Yeah.
But I think the question
the biggest share of that, though.
Yeah, the question becomes, do they want to fight a civil case for you know, basically denial of pay, versus do they want to basically just sweep it under the rug and not go through you know, the media with news or bad press, and hopefully no one finds out? I think that was their evaluation. That was the analysis.
But did he break? No. The thing is, I mean, we don't know what it is. But if he broke code of conduct, which in most companies, if you sexually harass
that's exactly
someone,
what I was going to say. Is there was probably a breach of contract?
Well, if he still sues them, it's still bad PR. The PR they're getting now is bad.
No, that's not bad PR.
If each of these individuals, each of these individuals have sued them, that's what they were weighing in their mind. And I think that's a huge problem.
But that was bad PR in the 1980s. That is not the PR you have now.
I mean, to both of your points, I think we're talking about those generational differences between what a team of lawyers at a company is trying to do is they're trying to hedge any potential risk. They're also looking at those final dollar amounts, and to E's credit, I think they're still doing that with a last generation mentality. To Warren's point, that is not the reality we live in today.
Well, you know what? This is the thing that really gets me, right? I want to agree with you that you're doing this with a last generation mentality, but we've seen over and over again that these tech companies are no better than any other companies out there. No. And we continue to give them the benefit of the doubt. They are companies that have been, you know, founded by people our age, people from our generation, people who should know better.
Well,
they're not old men. Google was not founded by a couple of old guys. I'm sorry. No, they're not.
They're way older than us, dude.
They're not that much older. They're not that much older than us. And first of all, they're not that much older than us. And you should understand.
We can at least call it. They're not much older than Juan.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No better. You look at the things that are in the news and have been in the news for the last few years.
He's 45.
You're telling me that they wouldn't front run these things and basically go, "Hey, this has happened. We need a way to deal with it." Basically, what this is a lot of consumers giving these tech companies a free rein to take investments from whoever they damn well please, to basically go into any government program that they damn well please without any consequences whatsoever, because we get YouTube and Google search for free. And now it's coming out that these guys, do no evil is a good thing to say, but do no evil means jack shit when you do evil. Okay? So no, it's not Google's problem. It's our problem for continuing to support companies, especially tech companies, and give them the benefit of the doubt. They're trying to do something better than every other company that was out there before. If you're not walking the walk, then please don't talk the talk, because we shouldn't give them our dollars to continue supporting things like this. It's ridiculous.
And that's Sam's rant for the day.
Sam's rant on that, but let me break this down once again. They're not in our age bracket, okay? They're 45.
Yeah, they are.
They're 10 years older than me. They're not in our age bracket. They're a part of another generation.
No,
Understand the
oh
generation.
God, have mercy.
That's only like 6 years older than me.
That Read a book on
Do we actually have to argue this one? It doesn't matter.
I think we can.
generations.
Yeah, we can skip.
So,
We can skip. the
how
generation
about
argument.
this? You know, it's like when we say we are closer to, you know, like, you know, we are now closer to. Oh wait, what is the? How do you phrase that? We are farther from 1985 in Back to the Future than Marty McFly was from 1955.
Yeah.
You know, so okay, we can say the CEO and the creators of Google are way closer to me than the executives who run Wells Fargo.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
We can at least hedge the differences in generational outlook and upbringing with something like that.
Another generation. No, they're not. They're not in the same thing. We can have this argument, but
let me rephrase it.
Because there's only 6 years between me and
not in our generation, but they're not in the good old boys generation where the boardrooms were predominantly dominated by men and men who understood they should act a certain way. No.
Well, and this does
anymore, and you should know that.
And to Sam's point, this does speak to the presentation of the climate of Silicon Valley versus the reality of the climate of Silicon Valley, where there's this aspirational faux libertarian value of the individual, the hard work of the individual, meritocracy. We're the tech generation, so we're above the old school mentality of who has value or who contributes value. But the reality on the ground is still very similar to previous corporations, previous interests, and previous generations. They haven't progressed as much as they've claimed they have.
Well, business is business in the end.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean to go into a rant on that one, but it's just when you look at everything going on in tech right now, and you look at everything going on in the world, and you see the potential for Silicon Valley to be something more than any other corporations out there have ever been in human history, and the kind of money they're making money that nation states can't even make, and yet we let them have a free pass to do whatever they want. I think that kind of time needs to be done. I think Facebook needs to be held to a higher standard. Google needs to be held to a higher standard. All these companies that are competing that have competed, reached, and then surpassed their $1 trillion mark need to be held to a higher standard. Enough is enough.
All right. And speaking of higher standard and 1 trillion mark, Apple posted its quarterly earnings. Thank you, Sam, for that segue. Some really high earnings and a couple of key things we noticed. Number one, iPhone sales were not that great, but of course, revenue was up because of $1,000 iPhones
and $800
mid-rangers. And Apple also disclosed that it will no longer be showing numbers. So before, Apple used to show us breakdown numbers, then it just made it general numbers for iPhone, and now they are not showing numbers at all for iPhone. They want to focus on services, quote unquote, is what they said.
Well, and to that point, I think they're right, because we've been talking about this for the last couple of years. We're at peak smartphone. The smartphone is a commodity. The smartphone is not the sexy status symbol that it once was. It's a necessity. And I feel like, especially after wrapping up a month with the iPhone XS, there's nothing special about this phone. There's nothing that really warrants this being affixed with the $1,000 price tag. It's a very good all-rounder smartphone at a price that last year, at an experience that last year we would have charged around $700 to $750 for. I think what we're looking at is companies like Apple and Samsung dominating the market and getting caught with similar issues. When we talk about Samsung's quarterlies, we should probably also mention Samsung potentially battery throttling, just like Apple did, which is one of the most reprehensible planned obsolescence practices the tech industry has ever seen. But I think what we're seeing is the last moves towards trying to extract as much wealth out of consumers as they can before we finally all move on to what comes in the post-smartphone world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also looking at those numbers, just to see, to me, what it also shows is that besides the fact that the market is very mature, it also shows the lack of international expansion Apple is showing. Because right now in India, the top three players are Xiaomi, Vivo, Samsung number 2, No, Samsung is, Samsung number 2 and Vivo is number 3. China, of course, is a very big market that there are a lot of players, and Apple is still not up there. So, you know, if they're making more money because they are milking us here on the Western side, then that means that, you know, why show the numbers where it's not going to be easy for them to, you know, to replicate that success around the world. Plus, you do have the fact that they just also, I think yesterday or today, announced that they will be selling refurbished iPhone 7s and 8s.
Not only refurbs. So they're trying to really end run around this right to repair movement. That's
exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, selling refurbs, and then also teasing a potential pilot program for long end of life repair parts. So iPhone 4s, you know, going back that far to try and still repair gadgets, so that it looks like some kind of magnanimous support gesture, but really it's to further halt the recent uproar over things like the Louis Rossmann debacle, the repair scandal that the CBC was investigating. If they can offer the parts, well, then you don't need third-party repair shops to service these completely out-of-date iPhones anymore. And to me, that again, that's another consumer hostile move. Whereas I'm sorry, just to wrap up, because we just recently had that copyright decision last week, where DMCA can no longer be utilized to stop. You can't say it's a copyright violation if someone's trying to repair a gadget. All of those things are working against Apple. This is a significant contributor to Apple's profit margin, not because of repairs, but because of the pain point. You could get this fixed, but it's like 1.5 years old. You should just buy a new one. And it's really a sad state of affairs for a company like Apple, that they've built up this emotional fan base, these loyal fans, and that this is how they're squeezing them. This is how they're turning the screws to try and extract as much value out of every customer that they can.
If you guys get the chance, and for whatever reason, YouTube has been feeding me a lot of Louis Rossmann videos. And if you don't know who he is, go check him out. Let's just say that he has a fight against Apple like no other person I've seen on the web. And he was also part of that CBC.
So Louis Rossmann is entertaining. You know, he's obviously emotional and passionate and involved. So he's not an objective bystander. He is a participant in a direct confrontation with Apple. So I find entertainment value out of his videos, but I would definitely recommend starting with the CBC investigation over Apple repair practices, because that to me was a more even-handed beginning. Entry into the conversation, where I've been sharing that video with family and friends. I've been working as hard as I can to remind family members that they only have 2 months left to get the Apple battery repair discount. We're coming to the end of the year, and everyone that I've done that for, my great aunt Lucille, you know, my grandmother's sister, went from having an iPhone that was inoperable while it was on, spending $30, and her phone is a screamer again. It's an old iPhone 6S. You know, she was ready to go out and buy. She's a senior citizen on a limited income. She was ready to go out and buy a new iPhone. $30 got her a brand new phone again. This is more than just techies in an echo chamber whinging on about Geekbench scores. This is affecting our family and friends, and our family and friends don't listen to us anymore. They've given up on geeks because geeks overpromise, geeks get into fights, we're snide, we're sarcastic. There are very real reasons, there are very important reasons to join this conversation with the people you care about right now. And when you show them things like, Apple didn't tell you that you could get your battery swapped for $30. They put it on their website, but they didn't really tell you. They didn't tell you that they throttled your performance to encourage you to buy a new phone. And now look at what they're going to charge you for things that are older. And this isn't from me. This is from a fairly reputable news source in Canada. They don't sensationalize news in Canada like we do. All of those things coming together have really chilled a number of potential upgrades from people in my circles of family and friends. And I feel this is a more responsible way for those individuals to do business with an organization like Apple.
Sam, you about to say something?
Oh, no, just saying even fanboyism has leaked its way into the regular consumer conversation. We're like, oh no, you only use Android, so I'm not going to ask your opinion on an Apple.
Yeah.
I only use Apple, so you probably couldn't give me a great you won't be able to help me in picking my next phone or whatever. I'm like, nah, I really kind of should tell you what the phone should be able to do, but now we fractured the market so much that it's not even worthwhile anymore trying to get someone away from the ecosystem into a new ecosystem.
No, it is. You're definitely right with that, especially just with those kind of sentiments. I think one of the things I got from it, especially watching that documentary and then watching more Lewis's videos, is the, I mean, and I think Warren has stated this in the past. The one thing that it reminded me again, not like I didn't know, is that Apple really doesn't make good products.
They don't.
They really don't. In the sense that there's a lot of, because I do have friends, and even talking to my neighbor Marian, who's gone through the Apple store a couple of times because of the issues, and will ask me, "What I don't know about that? Should I just get a new MacBook?" And I was, and for me, I'm like, look, if you really want to, you could probably find a place that will fix it, because I didn't know what the issues were. But watching these videos where there was just one, I think to me it was the most shocking, where this lady comes to his store because he actually shoots it there, and she says, they said they cannot back up my data and I have to get a new MacBook. And he goes, pick, open, here guys, you slide out the SSD, you change the motherboard, and you slide back the SSD, and we still have your stuff. And those are the kind of things that I don't like.
Well, to why they would say something like that, a lot of, I've worked on places like that, there is just a huge sort of legal issue around data that they don't want to be responsible for. So, and they hammer that into a lot of people that a lot of the techs that work there in these type of shops that are like Geek Squad and obviously the Genius Bar. So if they'll tell you they can't back your data, or if they'll tell you to go someplace else to back your data, they just don't want to be responsible for it, because once they're on the hook for something that's deleted, it is I fight for that.
No, I get that part, but don't tell the person they need to actually pay $1,000 to get a new. That is different when you say, like, hey, please go there, back up your data, right, and come back, and we'll do the simple fix for you. Not, hey, we can't do this. And the best thing really is just, you know what, either you pay $1,000, or you might as well just buy a new computer because it's 1.5 years old.
Yeah, I mean,
that is where it crosses the line.
Warren, you're absolutely right from that sort of what's the word that I'm looking for? It's liability.
Privacy.
Sorry, the liability aspect. But it's very convenient that seems to affect the change that we've seen in Apple geniuses. I mean, we can all remember back when, like, during the age of the iPod and Apple stores were just becoming a popular destination for consumer electronic sales, Apple had a much better reputation for really being able to fix things in the store. That's no. I'm serious. I mean, because
people to go to the jewelry store, because that was probably the best bet to fix any Apple product.
We didn't have a lot of options. I mean, you could go to a Circuit City. Apple deserved a good reputation for that.
Once Best Buy kind of came out with Geek Squad, they were sending people to us, and I know they were sending people over here to us. It just
I'm sure there were from a convenience standpoint, but it was just not like when
when it was more fractured out, when you didn't really have that many options.
You remember when USA tried to do their own repair program too, like that?
During those times, definitely.
Dude, you just brought back Comp USA. Are you serious?
Go back to untangle and like demonstrate. Like,
there's also a lot of cases
to be versus what they are now.
There's also a lot of cases in a lot of these repair things where there is a truth in that the cost of repair, by what Apple values it as, because all you get is excuse and what the hell's in front of you. The employee really has no control over that. Ends up being damn near the cost of something new, and that we've always argued against. Why is it costing this much money to fix a particular?
But even to me, that's still fraudulent, because you've just decided to set a set amount when you could either you could replace a smaller part and you say, look, you change the whole board or whatever it is, than actually fixing.
But how much is that going to cost them in the end?
It's not going to cost them that much, because there's certain things.
With a lot of those, I worked in the industry. You're arguing with me with someone that worked in the industry.
I'm trying to explain to you.
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, that it's not every part's going to be that expensive, but I know how they price shit, and sometimes it can get stupid.
You are exactly, you're supporting what I'm saying. I see the pricing of that part is where I call it foul. Again, it's not what the part costs. It's that, okay, you know what? We don't want to fix this, so we'll price this at $800 when this is literally $150 part. That's it. It's like going to the car dealership, right? I mean, if you're a guy, you buy a car, you don't go into the car dealership to fix your car, because they will tell you. I went when I got my car, basically an oil change. They told me $300. I looked at the bill. I said, "Do you think I'm stupid for an oil change?" That's what Apple does to its consumers. So it's not that they can't change it or the parts are not available or there's not something you do. It's the pricing. It's foul.
Yeah, the pricing's fine, but then there's even factors into that. It gets really stupid in the way a lot of things. I've seen stuff that's even years old that are like shouldn't be priced at the price that they're at, that they'll jump out twice the cost of the actual product. I've seen it, and I'm just be like, why the hell is it like this? And it's not just Apple either. This is Sony. This is it's all the companies. All the companies pull this stuff. They pull it heavily in the camera department as well too. They pull it in the TVs as well too. All these companies kind of do the thing to repair.
I mean, yeah, I think the biggest problem with Apple is just the right to repair and how adamantly they fight it, as opposed to other companies.
The difference with other companies is the competition aspect.
Yeah.
So Apple is trying to rein in any potential competition for repairs when there is also no other outlet for you to buy Mac OS or iOS devices. So if I have a terrible experience with Dell, I can go to HP. Yeah. If I have a miserable experience with HP, I can go to Lenovo. If I screw up with Lenovo, I can go to Asus, Acer, Toshiba, Microsoft. I can get something directly from Microsoft. This is why the situation, this is why the environment is especially concerning with Apple, as they're making, again, increasingly consumer hostile moves. I hope we can pivot, talk about like the iPad announcement, because I think this is another issue where abandoning standards is going to cost consumers substantially more. When we're looking at the new iPad, the new Pencil, Apple is trying to make the claim that the iPad Pro is a computer replacement and their stupid bar graph, but the iPad won't do things like support standardized interface controls like a mouse. So if you want fine point control, you need to use a pencil. If you're going from an iPad to an iPad, then your old pencil won't work on your new iPad, and the new pencil won't work on your old iPad. So something that, if you're not talking about sketching, you just want fine point control. Like maybe you're just going through spreadsheets. That would be nice to have something that's not just the tip of your finger to move and navigate through that space. A mouse would be preferable. But instead of being able to pick up any $15 Bluetooth mouse, you have to buy a $100 pencil, which is then locked as part of an accessory package to that iPad. And if they ever decide to change it, like they just did, you're out that $100 purchase, $130 purchase, where that $15, I have like the little Bluetooth Microsoft Puck mouse. Like I've had that for 8 years, 9 years, and it's worked with everything. I used it on my LG V40 while I was writing a script for my V40 versus V30 comparison. Like that's a huge problem for the consumer that I don't think consumers have fully understood. When you get rid of headphone jacks, when you get rid of HID drivers, when you get rid of standards, it's going to cost you more. You didn't get a benefit for that.
Who's excited by the new iPad Pro?
And those, speaking of those pencils are some of the most frail pieces of crap I've ever seen. So you talk about something that breaks consistently. Those things break consistently, along with the crappy AirPods as well too. Two crappy products.
So the one positive here's my positive, my legit positive for Apple pushing aggressively still on calling a tablet a Pro device is we're starting to see the benefits of better mobile software. that we're seeing Adobe moving into this space in 2019 in a way that'll be a lot more meaningful. I've seen on Android land developers taking mobile processing power more seriously, where I just fired up Power Director on the OnePlus 6T, and it doesn't seem to have any problems rendering 60 frame per second UHD video at around 50 megabit per second data rates. We probably wouldn't be at this stage like we are now if Apple hadn't taken the hit on calling the first iPad Pro an iPad Pro. That's about all the credit I can give them. But now I'm really excited to see where developers are going to keep going, because that to me is a tangible benefit out of all of this for a product I will probably never hold, let alone buy or review.
Well, the new iPad Pro comes in 12.9 and 11 inches, thinner bezels. You've got 6 gigs of RAM in there. It's got the new A12X Bionic with octa-core CPU and 7-core GPU, which Apple says is as powerful as your Xbox One S. So remember that.
Wow.
I think they said Xbox.
Like, you're always lying. But you can't just say Xbox, considering how that brand works.
Yeah, no, they said S. I believe they said S.
It would have been worse if they just said Xbox, because then everybody's still going to relate it to the Xbox One. They're not going to go the original Xbox or the Xbox 360. They're not going to be thinking that. They're going to say Xbox. Oh, this can do what the Xbox One can do.
And they showed the demo playing of 2K19 on there, and how, you know, it looks pretty good and all that fun stuff. So to me, what I got from that statement is a couple of things. They first put out a shot at Qualcomm and said your processors are just not even going to play in our space. And they also put a shot out at their partner Intel to say, hey, our processor is capable of doing a lot of things that you can't do as well. So, you know, the iPad is a gaming system, by the way. Just remember that. You can game.
Well, I said that when the first iPad came out, because, like, if you remember, when we moved to the PS4, it was just 1080p gaming, and the new iPad could game at higher than 1080p, so it's better. Remember?
I remember that.
Years ago? I got you guys
one.
like legit riled up.
Yeah,
like,
I was
when the PS4 dropped, and I was like, I mean, like, you can do 2K gaming on an iPad. You should just spend your money on an iPad. I just thought this was kind of funny that they're now using my talking points in their keynote.
So, did you get your cut? Did you get your cut? Did you get
No,
You know,
Apple's not going to give money for that kind of stuff.
What's hilarious about that is that a lot of the Apple fans are hoping that they drop Intel and start using these processors in the MacBooks. They're like championing this.
Yeah, that's the thing. I went through a little Twitter argument. I was like, look, it's very simple. If it was that powerful, why isn't it in this brand new MacBook Air? Forget the Pro. Why isn't it in the MacBook Air? If it's capable, number one, you don't have the software to do it, and number two,
laptop processor, desktop processor,
very
things, and they don't get it.
No, I mean, it's very hard for consumers to get it too, because even if I were to, on the gaming standpoint, I'd just ask you, how many polygons does that thing push? Remember, that's the gaming standard. It's, can you push as much? And again, it's a smaller screen that is 2K, not a 4K TV screen that has, of course. But
this is definitely one of the major victories of Apple, is conflating different specs, conflating different standards, confusing the talking points to arrive at something aspirational. It feels really good to say something like it's more powerful than the Xbox One S on Tuesdays running, you know, a JavaScript benchmark. So there you go. Your iPad wins. But it takes so much more work to correct that kind of feel-good sentiment, because you actually have to confront someone with data in a way that they're emotionally attached to the argument that feels good. And it's the same problem I've had with the iPhone XS. By Apple standard, using Apple's software, many services that I would run, that I actually do utilize, are faster on my iPhone SE. So why did I spend $1,000 on this iPhone XS?
They're locked up.
When it's, yeah, I know, they're coming for me. Why would I spend $1,000? Oh, that is on you. I'm sorry, I've got a really good monitor in my ear, so actually some of this sounds really good right now. why spend $1,000 on a phone that is outperformed by the launch first generation 16 gigabyte iPhone SE with an Apple A9? And so this is again why we've got to untangle all this information. You saw that bar graph. I saw legit commentators in the tech space saying like, yeah, the iPad's like the most popular laptop. And you're no, all I saw in that graph is that Windows laptops outsell the iPad 3-to-1.
Yep.
Yeah. Is the iPad a product or is the iPad an ecosystem? And Apple has been playing fast and loose with the difference between individual products and ecosystem whenever the comparison favors their side. That's their prerogative. They are supposed to make their company look as attractive and as cool as possible. But it's so much work for reviewers who actually want to untangle the pros and cons of a product just to undo the Apple sauce magic commentary bullshit, just so that we can then get to a reasonable conversation about what these new products might deliver to end consumers.
Before we continue, I just realized that after doing this Hangouts, this is probably why I have not been invited to Apple events. And, you know, for the foreseeable future, we'll probably not be invited to more events. So let's just ramp up the rhetoric, guys. Continue.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you want to be one of those YouTubers that just peddles and markets their advertising and kisses their ass, sure. But or you want to be people like us that are giving people the real truth and admitted value and making sure they're spending their money properly and getting the best out of it, which is what I think the goal of all of us here is mainly about. But what's funny is, remember that Twitter argument that somebody decided to tweet out and say that Apple doesn't boast about specs? That they don't make part of what they do.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that one. Yeah.
You want to keep talking about that when somebody sits out there and says, "We have just as powerful graphics as the Xbox."
I mean, that's a spec.
Yeah, just like someone said that. What was it? What was the exact words? Everything Apple designed is meticulously crafted for productivity and use. So was that Apple Pencil and how it charged at the end of the iPad was designed well. Like so much of that reality distortion field is amazing to carry Nawan's point of how you just have to basically unwind that constantly because it's peddled by the same tech correspondents that are in our space that peddle that same stuff, and you have to go and like, no, that's not true. That's not the the real reality of it all. But just going back into the iPad, one of the frustrating things I have with that is that they had USB-C. Well, they had to since they added it to the laptops and decided not to make, somebody wants to actually charge something if all they have is a Mac ecosystem. Well, USB-C is nice to have. And they removed the headphone jack from basically an entertainment product because I don't care what they say. The most productivity I see anyone do off that thing is type an email. You watch movies, you play games. That's what it is. It's an entertainment hub. Or something that somebody uses in a conference room to control something. So that phone jack for that thing.
Will they work with USB Type-C headphones on that?
Well, I think the argument for going to USB-C on the iPad is because they are legitimately trying to make the iPad a laptop competitor. It's gonna be the wedge for them against something like the Surface with prices.
Surface has been eating their lunch a little bit, so they're trying to get at them a little bit with this.
I was just surprised.
It was pretty clear to me that they had way less faith in Mac OS products. So even though they announced laptops and revisions and refreshes, the big push was, yeah, you could get a laptop, but don't you want to be on the cutting edge of using your tablet as a laptop instead? Because ours is the most popular computer on the planet.
No, yeah, I agree. Because
Warren's face exactly was how I felt.
They didn't show numbers for what Mac OS computers actually do on that chart because it's way lower than everything else. But anyway, let's move away from Apple and the announcement. But let's talk about the company that they bumped a day ahead this past week. OnePlus. OnePlus made its US announcement for the 6T. We already knew the specs for this device way long ago. comes with the pimple notch. So basically a nice small notch in the front. It does have a fingerprint sensor underneath the screen. Of course, the 845, all that goodness. But most importantly, it comes to the US under T-Mobile with a very, very sweet deal. You can trade in a bunch of devices are listed, but you can trade in your original OnePlus or even the very badly produced OnePlus X. And you will get $300 off as long as it's a working device. So you can get your OnePlus for $300, which is actually not a bad deal.
Walk in and buy that, not even need to do a payment plan for that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what do you guys think of OnePlus's launch event announcements, partnership with T-Mobile, all that fun jazz? I'll start off with you, Sam.
I'm not really aware of it. I don't follow OnePlus at all. It's not really
hilarious.
It's just
and that, guys, is the comedy sketch for the day.
There you have it.
Sam just Tupac them. Just like,
yeah, seriously. Like, why would I care?
And the
why would I care to get $300 off a phone if at the end of the day I'm not interested in the phone? It's great for people who are in the ecosystem. They're going to go out and buy it anyway. But have we seen a lot of people jump into the OnePlus ecosystem, especially with the 6T?
Well, but this is different than some of the other launches, and also why I think they're taking sort of an odd lateral move instead of just trying to address one-to-one over their previous phone. They're trying to find some of the techier, fun things that might entice a consumer when they walk into a T-Mobile
store. Yeah.
That is the big news here is. A subsidiary under the same ownership as Oppo. Huawei couldn't do this. Oppo couldn't do this. Xiaomi has avoided this. OnePlus is
the first Chinese
manufacturer to offer a flagship competitive product at a major U.S. carrier with carrier financing, carrier leasing deals, carrier trade-in deals. That's what's such a big deal here. I really would have thought that Huawei would have gotten there first, but because
we all know why. Yeah,
well, they would have.
Well, because Oppo doesn't make networking equipment, OnePlus is a lot safer for a company to take on board.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
that's the. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, I do agree. I think that's the biggest play, but I think also the fact that I think when you look at it from a store perspective, T-Mobile has two devices that they could really direct their customers to when you walk into the store. One is always a Galaxy, and now there's a OnePlus because of the pricing and because of what it offers. So even though if a customer is coming in and going, okay, maybe I don't want to go for the iPhone, or like these iPhones are too expensive. What else is there? And this is where OnePlus really shines for them. And the big thing here is that I want to see the numbers, because I guarantee the OnePlus will outsell the Pixel by a landslide in the US, because that's how they already outsold them last year without being in the US, and they'll do it again.
Yeah, but that's the fanboys though too. Which I would say they have a much more rabid fan base for their products than Google does with the Pixel, because they just abandoned the Nexus fan base, which was really, really excited about the Nexus.
Yeah, but they moved to OnePlus.
So what would be interesting? This is Verizon versus T-Mobile that space. And if T-Mobile can make a huge move with the OnePlus 16, outsell the Pixel 3 in that regards, that's pretty outstanding. And I hope they advertise the crap out of that if they do that. Because that will send a message to Google, big time, on what they need to be doing with the with their Pixel lineup if they expect to really start to push further out there. They have a base, but it's nowhere near. They don't have that. Every other like smartphone manufacturer out there has its core fan base. Samsung has their Galaxy fans and their Note fans. They actually got two. because they
Yeah.
think they're
Yeah.
different. Apple has obviously their fan base with the iPhone. And then you have HTC had their rabid fan base at the time. They definitely did. They kind of squandered their opportunities, but they had theirs. OnePlus has theirs. It just requires those sort of things to get the word out and to get people that might not necessarily buy that phone or looking for something different. If they see someone excited about it, they have someone to lean on to if in the event they run into issues or run into things talking about the phone. It's one of the reasons why the iPhone sells so damn well. It's because somebody else has the phone, so there's already someone else there to give them.
Yeah, it's really easy to find someone else who speaks iPhone.
And that's exactly why Samsung started to sell so well. Someone else speaks Galaxy. And the nice thing is that from outside of the S Pen and whatnot, the Note and the Galaxy S share very similarities from a software perspective. That someone that speaks Galaxy S can talk to someone that can speak Note and whatnot, and those were always the advantage. HTC had the same thing as well too, and now OnePlus could possibly push that as well too. And Google, I don't know what they're doing with the Pixel.
I will say the biggest thing I've heard from Google. So I went to OnePlus events, and some people asking me there about OnePlus versus the Pixel, which to me is it's interesting that people were thinking that way. They didn't want to compare it to a Galaxy. They picked the Pixel.
No, they don't want to do it.
And one of the people there said, look, one of the reasons I actually was thinking about the OnePlus is because Will Smith took that picture from the what's the tower in Dubai again?
The Burj, was it the
Burj Khalifa or something? I can't remember. Yeah,
like
yeah. And a few other people mentioned that. So I was like, wow, that's the biggest notoriety the Pixel has. Is good and bad, because I mean it's great that at least a celebrity has actually gotten them that kind of notoriety. But the other part is that shouldn't be the only thing of where the device lands in there.
That would have been perfect for them if the actual tech community and that fan base or that they somewhat have was actually really excited about the Pixel 3. They don't have that. There's not that excitement level to match what that is. Now let's say Will Smith took that picture with the OnePlus instead of that. Now you have a rabid fan base. Now you have one of the biggest celebrities you could possibly get to ever do something for you in that type of space. Now there's a lot more noise because that same fan base is rapidly going to share that around, and now people are going to know what's this OnePlus thing that they're talking about, and now they can see what that is. So it's.
I don't think they're going to jump on celebs here in the United States just yet. Not like how Oppo does internationally, but I would be very surprised if we didn't see some brand ambassadors by 2019.
Look,
throughout 2019, I should say.
Look, if LG can get Aubrey Plaza to do a terrible function of a selfie in the G7 or something like that, OnePlus can get somebody, get the Colonel.
But yeah, really. but I mean, that's what's actually very exciting though, is that for the first time, they're not gonna have to just depend solely on word of mouth internet traffic. They're gonna have the resources of a T-Mobile to push and promote. So now we need to see if they can really capitalize on that benefit. If they can, then I think I completely agree with you, Warren. I think we're gonna see the OnePlus stomp all over the Pixel.
They should bring Carly back for this. Where's T-Mobile Carly at? Bring her back just for this.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting though. I mean, like OnePlus was touting at the event their number. I mean, in India, they are huge. It's just not even a joke what they do in India. Yeah. They are the number one considered premium brand in India is OnePlus. And even at the events, the amount of fans from India that they had at the event who came down, who bought tickets and things like that. It was their way of showing that we have a community. We have this, just look behind us, right? They're right here.
Nokia had a community that was also in the U.S. All these other companies have had communities all over the world, including the U.S.
What guaranteed hype machine?
Warren, what makes anyone want to switch from Verizon? What makes anyone want to switch from some other Android device to a OnePlus?
I mean, OnePlus argument is that they give you the top tier at not top tier price. Nobody has done that effectively in the US except them. Let's just be honest. The 845 on the OnePlus runs just as well as your Galaxy Note 9.
Oh, it runs better.
Yeah, I mean, and it comes with 6 gigs of RAM standard. You can get it 8. They just say that, look, we give you almost everything you need there, minus the lifestyle, and we're cutting off that price. So when you're comparing even the OnePlus to the XR, you're going the XR. I'm sorry, man. That's where they land, and they say, hey, look, we are just giving you what you need. And fine, they've made some decisions that I don't like. Headphone jack is off on that thing. But they also put in a DAC into the USB Type-C, which I'm like, okay, fine. I get that. Even if I'm doing a pass-through, that's still better. The fact that they do that is where they land. Nobody else does that right now. So until somebody else does.
If you're going to be jumping not only through your service provider and also jumping through like an ecosystem. I know Android is pretty much, you can jump from one Android phone to the other. But if you have a brand of a phone you're already using that you really like, what is really pushing you to jump and try out the OnePlus?
Well,
price. To me, price is just as important, because
to me, if it wasn't Q4 already, it would matter to me.
You're not wrong. They have some formidable hurdles, but we're also saying this is also the very first time that these consumers even would know that this phone existed.
Well, I think they're targeting those folks that don't go after the Galaxy, or don't go necessarily after the latest iPhone and stuff like that. They're targeting folks that may buy last year's device, or may buy even the device from a couple of years ago, and go and say, hey, instead of spending that reduced price for whatever that, Galaxy S8 or whatever, or 7 maybe, or the iPhone 7 or whatever, how about you spend $500 here, and we give you the latest specs that you can get now. We give you the latest features and all the speeds right now.
Plus, if you bring your old phone, it becomes $300.
It's a starting argument for them that we'll see, and it leads them into possibly a good time next year.
This is also, I think, the right time for OnePlus to try. This is their second year of $1,000 phones.
Yeah.
So they have an uphill battle, because they have to convince people that their phone isn't half as good as an iPhone, and that consumers are going to understand that it's 85% as good as an iPhone for half the price, right? That's a formidable challenge. That is not going to be easy, but they also have never had the resources of a major US carrier to back up that statement. And T-Mobile gets lit up about their individual phone announcements. Like, even when the Moto 360 camera came out, T-Mobile was producing more content and more videos about that add-on for the Moto than Motorola was. So again, it's OnePlus's ball to fumble, but we've never seen them in this position before. So now we just need to see, can they really capitalize on it? Because I think now is the perfect time to start seeing commercials in traditional media and billboards on streets talking about, why are you spending $1,000 on a phone that can't really outperform this $600 phone?
Yeah, no, I think that, and also you remember there is a certain, if OnePlus came in and just helped suffice the pain of those LG HTC fanboys, that is a group that is literally, they're looking for where to go now. Moto fanboys, I mean,
LG. Yeah. I would say they still have a tiny little,
but that's the space.
I think LG, they're okay for now, but I think, like you said, the HTC and Motorola fans who probably feel somewhat abandoned because they just don't have anything, a flagship or no sort of, they don't have that same space that they used to have before. OnePlus could really fill that for them. And I think that's who you go after. I really.
And what's disappointing is, I think this will put a hurt on LG. I think this is going to put a serious hurt on LG, because LG doesn't have anywhere near the organic word of mouth that OnePlus does. Now T-Mobile is going to get excited about a OnePlus because it's an exclusive, so they're not really going to be pushing V40, if at all.
Yeah,
this is dangerous territory for LG right now, because anyone who is on Team LG is probably really susceptible to being pulled to another manufacturer.
And think about what these carriers are pushing as exclusive devices.
Yeah,
AT&T's exclusive device that they pushed forward was the Red phone, which is poor of a device. poor. That's the device
Well,
they
and
decided to push.
AT&T made that weird play on the V35.
Yeah,
Exactly. So
Just an odd move.
this is showing that LG is in a very rough situation. They have enough money and at least some clouds to push their way back.
Yeah.
But OnePlus is coming in where we all know HTC is pretty much dead.
But
Motorola
this is,
has no say in the US anymore.
Yeah, none at all.
And
Lenovo, I don't feel has been very helpful.
Yeah.
In managing their marketing like they used to back during like the first Moto Z. But for LG, what I'm, V40 is their new phone. Obviously, they want to try and push the message out on that. But with a OnePlus 6T at T-Mobile, now would be the right time to also double down on LG G7 deals. Yeah, you can get this OnePlus 6T for $600, but you could also spend $600 on the absolute best headphone jack performance, boombox mode, water and drop and shock resistance, a higher resolution, brighter display. The G7 could be a pretty good deal at $600 also. Now would be the right time for them but where are they? They're completely absent from the conversation as per usual.
How many years have you been saying this? I feel like it's been.
They're not going to learn
since we've started this podcast.
It's like HTC never learns.
I mean, I think wasn't our first episode of the podcast me going, "Why don't LG make more commercials, huh?" Like, I think that was the first thing I said when I started joining you guys on this live stream.
I mean, it's hilarious, but they have themselves to blame, and it's something that they just have to go in and they have to sit back and decide. Speaking of LG, I'll listen on the notes here. LG has stated the things they're going to show at CES. Their foldable device will be at CES, which would be interesting. I'm more excited because the rollable TV will be shown as well. I mean, I saw it last year with LG Display, which is a separate company from LG, and they did say that it will be out within a year, and it looks like we're getting a rollable display, which is great. So I mean, it's not going to be the kind where I can just put it on my wall and then just run a wire, but at least we're getting to that point where you can literally
whip it out like a towel.
Exactly. We're getting to the point where we can roll our TVs up and be like, I'm out. And just sling it and you're out of your house.
Yeah, no. If anyone can deliver on that, that would be really amazing. Like just the amount of people who live in New York and pack and move from one place to the other.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
That would save a lot of people a lot of headaches.
Yeah, and then you can get bigger size TVs too. I mean, you can actually have a 75-inch and just use up your wall space properly and not feel like you've got this thing you got to place.
Isn't it so crazy? Were you with me like 4 CESs ago when LG Display was showing off like their second generation translucent screens and stuff like that? Were you with me in that?
No, I wasn't with you, but I was at the show. I saw that.
You saw those. Yeah. I like for knowing how amazingly ahead of the curve, because LG Display is basically a separate company from LG Electronics. They're just under the LG umbrella, but they don't really work together on things. But to know how far ahead of the curve LG Display has been on radical new technologies that only seem to get adopted a couple years after Samsung has already started incorporating them into their products. It's just driving me crazy. I mean, like, I'm happy to start seeing some of this stuff, but they were showing some of those early mock-ups and some of those early test beds for flexible OLEDs years ago. And now, like LG Electronics is only starting to get lit up about it because we're pretty confident that Samsung's going to do something this next year when they've had the tech to open this up for a couple years now.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because when I went to see LG Display this last CES, they had a section. I can talk about it now because all the displays that they showed are on the market, and they showed a lot of notch sizes, and I was like, "Wow, who's gonna use this stuff?" It's only Apple. Look at me, I dumbness. Everybody used the notch there, and they showed a bunch of those, and they also showed a laptop. They had a laptop that had the screen vibration technology for audio as well, and they didn't show one for cell phones, but they said yes, they will have one down the line for that. So, which of course is rumored for Samsung's going to have supposedly on the.
God,
on the
I mean,
S10.
like it makes so much sense when you try tissue conduction on an old Kyocera, Like, of all phones, like the Kyocera Brigadier had bone and tissue conduction screens. Like, you wouldn't need to do much to convert that into just basically being the whole speaker. And now in Notchland, you know, like that would have been an amazing solution for some of these issues, along with the phone that we're still probably going to talk about at some point during this show too, that like we never really needed to go down this notch avenue. This didn't really need to happen. It just feels lazy now to see all the companies that just copied Apple.
I think I spoke my piece on that last week and why these notches exist.
Yeah, I mean it's you know it's just one of those things where a lot of Android manufacturers, I think last year I thought was when Android manufacturers had stopped following Apple. Not last year, sorry, the year before that they had learned that, okay, look, we are mature ourselves, we can do this, and then everybody just were like, ooh, Apple's doing this, and we're going to follow. And they dropped the headphone jack. I think Google was one of the most disgusting ones, because of the press announcement of how they talked, and then they said they took out the headphone jack because of bezel space. And I'm going, your phone has the thickest bezel of all of them. Like, how does this? Those are the kind of things that
come up with a lie. Come up with a good lie.
Yeah, just say that, like, this
we
is
just
the
want to
industry
direct
standard.
your hearing with Pixel Buds. Pixel Buds are way more expensive than if you just bought, your own headphones, and we get all the licensing, and you'll go deaf faster. So then you'll probably need Google brand hearing aids.
I used those Pixel Buds for the first time recently. Those things are god awful.
They're so bad. and like, for as much as I complain about how there's no...
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, but they're still better than the headphones that Apple includes in their box. But these are awful.
So yeah, any company like Huawei fits into this bill. Apple, now Google with the Pixel Buds. Like, I'm becoming a zealot. Any of these open ear earbuds are some of the worst consumer solutions that we can come up with. And basically, because they're too cheap to include a penny's worth of silicone to give you in-ear tips, you get to wreck your hearing to pad their profit margins for pennies. And I'm done subsidizing that. That to me is, again, one of the most hostile moves you can make, especially after removing the headphone jack, so that you can incorporate whatever kinds of solutions you might want to use. These are $50 in-ear monitors, KZs. You can get $20 dual driver earbuds that sound really good, and use the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, go seamlessly between computer, tablet, phone, PC.
Except your iPad Pro now, though.
Yeah.
Not on an iPad, unless you get a $10 USB-C headphone adapter. So that's great. So again, it's pain point on top of pain point to pad their profit margins at the expense of your health. And once you phrase it that way, some people start to bristle a little bit, but it's like, hearing aids are not cheap, and most insurance plans don't cover hearing aids. So how soon do you want to be in that market?
Yeah.
Oh man, that was the craziest USB, or should I say lightning port dongle failed at the train this week. This dude walks in with a suit, with his headphones on. You could tell he had those wired headphones connected to his iPhone. You could tell he was jamming to something. And all of a sudden, I don't know what the glitch was. His phone just starts blurring out what he was singing to, some kind of K-pop thing.
and
all you got to do is flex that port just a little bit.
And you could see he literally was like...
Oh, buddy. Because you also want to go up to him and be like, dude, just do you, man. You.
I thought
you get that. You want to K-pop that? You K-pop that.
It was to me, it was like, this is why dongles might not always be the best idea.
Yeah, that's just not
wow. His dongle must have failed at that point.
Yeah, because he had to basically unplug everything, turn the volume down, and plug it back in, and then turn it on again.
Danny Winget, K-pop. Oh, that was me.
What's up, Daddy?
Oh, Danny, I love you, brother.
Danny.
I mean, Danny, you're wrong about LG phones being too expensive, but I love you like a brother, Danny.
Yeah, he said LG phones would be great if they didn't charge so much. They can't compete with Samsung and Apple. He also said they should focus on premium mid-tier.
So this is actually, I mean, like to Danny's point there, because we know prices fall on this stuff so fast, maybe they should stop pretending I don't find that there's any value problem with a G7 versus a smaller Galaxy S9. I feel like they're competitive products. But now that the G7 is a couple months old, damn, they should be going after OnePlus hard. Going after OnePlus at maybe a $20 price premium over a base model OnePlus 6T. We all know you can get a G7 on a BOGO deal. We all know that these products aren't really worth what the full manufacturer retail is. This is when they should be doubling down. This is when they should be coming aggressive.
Oh, yeah, you're definitely correct. Because I remember when we at the V40 event, and Danny does his YouTuber React. I'm there with Flossie, and Flossie's like, this shit's gonna drop down $300, man. Just wait 2 months. Just chill.
Didn't even have to wait 2 months. The unlocked version on B&H at launch was like what, $800? Like it was instantly $100 lower than manufacturer retail.
Yeah. So I mean, you're right. Instead of pretending,
I never understand why they can't launch. They never launched their phones at the same price as everyone else. Like I don't understand why they always got to be more expensive when they launch a phone. Like $50 or $60.
Well, actually, this is new. It started with the G6. Before that, I mean, like the G4 was so popular because it was almost as good as the Galaxy, and it was like $50 cheaper.
Yeah.
Ronald said Sprint has a $10 a month lease on the V40.
Yeah. Because unfortunately, Sprint chose very poorly with their exclusives last year.
$10 a month?
Yeah, they're trying to find some leverage, dude. You didn't hear about that?
No. I mean, how many months do you have to be on that to pay it off, though? I
mean, because like if we were a little closer to knowing that Sprint and T-Mobile were going to be one, I'd say get on that. But no, it's because we saw OnePlus 6T go to T-Mobile, Pixel go to Verizon. Last year, Sprint had the Essential phone. So
well, that worked out.
They want to try and lock something in, and they're subsidizing heavily on V40.
All right, let's move on to the Nubia X. It's a dual-sided device, thin bezels, no notch, and to compensate on that, there's no front-facing camera, so they decided to throw another screen in the back so you can take that selfie.
So much better. Don't do a notch. You don't need to. Rear cameras are way better than selfie cameras. Selfie cameras suck. I see everything is right here. This is the right move.
Oh, it's not right because the girl can't go like this. She can't go like that with ease. She has to see it right there. I'm telling you, man.
It's the same. It's the same.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying.
Sorry, Sam, what are you saying here?
I'm looking at this and I'm looking at all the videos that have done reviews, and I'm still looking for a video that actually shows me someone taking a selfie using the rear screen.
Nobody. I mean,
I've looked at all the photos they've put out there. You would think this is something they would highlight.
I don't know why nobody.
I haven't seen a photo of the camera app on the rear screen, so. I hope they can do that. Do a selfies on the rear screen.
No, I mean that's the reason why they put it there. I don't know why anyone has not done that.
It makes sense that that's exactly the reason they put it there. I'm just like, none of their marketing materials right now look as though.
I don't think they care. Something tells me they weren't thinking selfies with any of this. I seriously think that they just flew out the door.
No. They were thinking selfies.
Cameras.
I would be shocked if the only reason to do this was to make sure that they didn't need to have a selfie camera on the front.
So the Chinese market is heavy with selfies. That is one of the main things that they focus on. So Nubia being there, the Nubia X being there is something that they will focus on heavily. Especially just even meeting I forgot her name. She does stuff for a couple of channels in Japan. And she showed us just her bag of selfie phones. I was like, yo, this is a whole different ball game. It's completely different from what we do here in the States.
Well, and this also addresses some of the other things too. If you're going to make your phone out of glass and it's going to be expensive to repair glass, I mean, you might as well get some other benefit out of it, like having a display back there. This to me really does, from a design standpoint and from a practicality standpoint, absolutely destroys the argument for why we've been needing to use notches. It simplifies some of the device manufacturing because I've always hated selfie cameras. I hate reviewing the selfie camera as part of my camera reviews. And you guys have seen it. Like I posted another photo showdown on Instagram this morning. I didn't do selfie low light photos. I did rear camera selfie low light photos, because if you're in an almost no light situation, you're not going to use your selfie camera anyway, but you could pull off a good shot of yourself with the rear camera. That's how much better our rear cameras have gotten over our front facing cameras.
Yeah, we don't care, man. We want the selfies.
No, but that's just it. Is like, if you're going to take selfies of yourself, why are you using the inferior camera
Juan,
to make yourself look good?
Juan, I can't flip it around, man. Like, God, it's just so much. Sorry, Deadpool. My bad.
See, and what's hilarious is the Huawei phones are the perfect ones to do that with the new mirror finish that they've got on the back of the phone. I can see myself in your phone.
But that's my it's much logical sense as that is. That's my argument with this. It's just like people aren't used to. They're going to look at the back and recognize it's the rear-facing camera. Even with the screen there, I can't see them going like this. I see them going. They want to do this. This is what they're used to. This is what we've.
Right, but you still do that. I mean, even when I do the rear, it's the same. I just dropped that phone. It's the same. I mean, I'm just doing this.
It's
so if the screen is right there, it's the same.
No girl is going to do that one. I'm just telling you.
It's the same. I don't understand what your argument is. I really don't understand.
Guys, let's not claim that we know what any woman would do
or
not do.
It's like, I'm married to one, and she's often quite unpredictable. You're right there.
Only by women. It's taken both by men and women.
Yeah.
But hold on, guys.
And that's why we have beauty mode built into every selfie is for men and women.
So no, I'm really struggling to understand what you're trying to say though, Warren. If the action is the same and the screen on the back of the phone is just a selfie screen, I don't understand why that's any different than using the front-facing camera in the screen on the front of your phone.
Because you have to flip the phone around. That task of doing this is too much work.
You can't instantly just do this. And that's what we have been trained to do as humans.
But that's the thing, though. If you're using the rear screen as the phone at that point in time, it's that.
Yeah, because isn't it just a squeeze gesture and then it flips over?
Yeah, something like that, I think. I can't remember. But it's a pretty simple gesture too.
And you can continue doing your text and whatever on that side.
Right, yeah. True.
Yeah, all you do is you just squeeze the phone kind of like a pixel, and then it just pops to the back screen.
But the great thing about this phone, though, is it doesn't matter where you're at, what hand you're holding it on. You can unlock that thing. Dual fingerprints, man. Dual fingerprints in the screen. They're like dual fingerprints.
Okay.
You can fingerprint both fingers at the same.
Okay, that sounded dirty, man. That sounded. I
was going with words at the same damn time.
Too many jokes.
Yeah, way too many on that one. Yeah.
The reason for having two fingerprint scanners on the edge is like, unless you're scanning your thumb each time, like any other finger, it's just good to have one central location. But
how hilarious is that two-finger authentication?
Yeah.
Right. So you've got to have like the right combo. So if it's your thumb and middle finger, then it's not going to unlock.
Yeah, that's girlfriend proof. I like that. The Colonel likes that because facial recognition is no good.
Always worth bringing up too. But again, always worth bringing up. If law enforcement, abducts you and they get you to force open your phone, that they don't have to get a warrant or anything for biometric security. But if there's any kind of like proprietary passcode or PIN, you can make a better argument for keeping your device locked. So maybe it should be the order of fingerprints. So you need to scan your thumb, ring finger, pinky, then index, and that's how you open the phone.
So basically, gang signs.
Wow! We went there. Now I just think
Wayland,
man. We really it's a combination of just over engineering and just innovation. It's amazing.
I'm super positive on this. This is this to me is probably the best solution I've seen yet for an all-screen phone. I like some of the sliding. I like some of the sliders. But from a durability standpoint, I have concerns over a mechanism that you would have to use to get to something like a front-facing camera. This solves the problem for Skype calls, for video calling. You just flip the phone around. Solves the problem for selfies. You have the better camera to just flip your phone around.
Yeah, but
there's no reason for a notch, and anyone who does a notch in 2019 has completely failed the innovation test, as far as I'm concerned.
You don't need the full rear screen to do that.
Nope.
You can still have part of the rear screen accessible to both hands so you can do your fingerprint scan. You can still design it in a way. I'm not saying this is a bad idea, because this is a very innovative phone. I don't want to poo-poo it.
The reason why I like the screen implementation, the reason why I like the screen implementation that they've got is you probably do want a bit more surface area for shot composition for when you're composing your selfie. And then also, I think that will be a better experience for when you're taking a video call. Video calling has gotten way more popular than I ever would have imagined it would be. So you don't want a gimped half screen for something like, I'm going to call the grandparents and have them talk to my daughter. I want her to be able to see my parents really well. So everything. You could give me a bigger screen on the back. It would be completely ridiculous and more than you would need. But I think that would be a nicer experience overall for some of these fun features that it's attached to. But ultimately, it just keeps coming back to the main talking point. If you are disrupting the main display to include a web camera, you are doing it wrong, and you have demonstrated that you have no design expertise and you have no innovation capabilities to solve a problem. All you did was copy Apple to come up with a fake screen to body metric.
Yeah, but if you're also going to put out marketing materials, don't put rear buttons for gaming where you have no tactile feedback. That beats the whole purpose.
Are we going after Asus there too?
True, no, really. I just don't get it. I'm looking at the marketing material, and that's why I said this is a combination of over-engiñering and just innovation. It's like they just decided to throw everything.
Yeah. Some of that is gimmicky, but to me, it's one of the main use cases, one of the main aspects of how we've interacted with technology has been the display. You should never molest the display. That should be sacrosanct. You should never cut into the display. I'm going through what is that dinosaur game? Arc Mobile. Yeah. And like fucking controls. I'm sorry, I just dropped an F-bomb. That's our one PG-13 F-bomb.
I think earlier,
sorry, I'm getting real mad there. But like when I move back and forth between like the OnePlus 6T and the iPhone, like actual menu items are disrupted by the iPhone notch. And there's no way to resize or repurpose or rein that in. That's up to the developers to fix Apple's terrible design decisions. At least Android, I can say like, don't do that. And I can rein in the notch a little bit with the notification shade. There should never be a notch. There should never be a notch. The screen is the portal through which we interact with all of our data and services. That should never be interrupted.
We've got a question here a statement here from Vishal says, did you guys know about the Mate 20 Pro display issues? There are a lot of articles online and no tech reviewer is speaking about it. I not experienced any issue, which is why I haven't said anything, because I haven't, because if I had, I would say something. I do know that Huawei said, at least Huawei Finland has responded and said they will replace any devices that have screen issues. So there's light bleed, I think, on the edge of some of the displays, or at least excessive light progression on some of the displays. So on my end, I haven't seen anything. So I haven't seen anything.
I'm going to be getting my Mate probably in a couple weeks. I'm so far behind.
But yeah, I was showing off my my new little phone.
I am way more jealous of you holding that than I probably should be.
I don't know why I kind of like it, and I know it's
because little phones are awesome.
It's got no practical. I mean, it's got a practical use in the sense that you can take it to the gym, but it's so light. You could probably lose this thing so quick.
So basically, it's an MP3 player with a phone app on it. Awesome.
Yeah.
See, I am okay with that.
Yeah. My problem with this thing is the pricing, because basically you can do number sync or with your phone, like your regular phone, and you can take it with you.
All right.
My problem is if this was 150, I would say just buy it.
No. CE, here you go. I want if you end up finishing up stuff on this, because I'm begging for one of these also to review. But if you use it before me, you have to credit me. What you're holding right there isn't a smartphone. It's a smart pocket watch. The pricing is right in line with any LTE enabled watch.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a smart pocket watch.
Thank you very much. I will
Put it up against it. Put it up against a gear.
You know what? Someone needs
gear
to
LTE?
review this with a case that has a chain attached.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just put it right in there, in that pocket.
Big Bad Voodoo Daddy style, baby.
Okay, I'm gonna look for one. I'm gonna look for a case like that.
Needs to.
What I want to make, because I'm reaching out, because it's the TCL guys. I'm reaching out to see if I can get my hands on one. Again in a couple weeks. Like I want to try and do like a holiday roundup with the Palm. But I want to get like a wallet kind of case so that it like flips open like a pocket watch, and then see if I can glue like a little chain to that. That's what it is, though. I mean, like it's a companion device, obviously. But if you price it up against,
what did you call it again?
A smart pocket watch.
Smart pocket watch.
So it's not a smartwatch, but if you price it up against a Gear LTE, I would rather have that as a companion device than a watch that I'm trying to take calls on.
Yeah,
that makes sense. That makes sense. And just think about the fact that if I was using a phone like that and just like not doing much on the screen, and it was all about just getting my messages and working out at the gym, my regular phone would probably stay alive through a whole day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Fat Produce is like, how's the Palm phone as a weekend? I just got it today, and you know what? I might use it for my weekend adventures. See how,
but you have to credit me on Smart Pocket. We have this as evidence that.
Wait, Sam, what did you say?
My weekend adventures. I'm like, what?
This is me getting a bagel.
Exactly. Like all of a sudden, I can't even look at bagels anymore.
I didn't mention bagel. That was all one there. Come on.
It's like the differences in our nightlives where like I'm excited to go get a churro at midnight. Let's do this, guys.
It doesn't have a headphone jack. It's actually smaller than the port itself. I mean, so the thinness of this. But yeah, it runs really smooth though so far. I mean, I have to see when I actually fully use it.
I'm excited about the idea of purpose-built solutions to diversify. You know, there's something really compelling. What I always hoped for the smartwatch industry to kind of take notice of. There's something really compelling about a bit more focus. There are times where I want to engage in a very rich multimedia experience. There are times where like, F it, I just want to know if someone's going to text me and I want to shut everything else down. And again, we're in the right time. We're in the right frame of mind for specialist devices, things that do a handful of things really well, but you're not looking to try and do everything through them. And so again, with the BlackBerry, with the Idle phones, and now with the Palm license, TCL is doing some really interesting things. They're not broad. They're none of them broad solutions that are going to try and fight up against like a Galaxy S series or an iPhone, but they're very interesting solutions to very specific problems.
Yeah. I don't know about GSM version, but I'm going to try and take out the SIM because it's got a SIM port
and see if it's unlocked.
Yeah. If I can put in T-Mobile SIM, if that actually works on this thing, but it's nice though. I mean, like when the Verizon rep showed me this, we were heading to Jimmy Kimmel. He had a leather jacket and one of those zippers here, like the motorcycle jackets with a zipper, and he just pulled it out. I was like, okay. I was like, all right, you sold me on this because it's so easy to tuck it in and not feel like you have this massive thing in your pocket.
Tell me this won't be the hot new prison phone, right? Right?
No.
Anyone?
No.
I'm the only one going on this? Come on. I can't have been the only one.
I did not go there. My mind didn't go there. And now my mind has gone there. And I'm thinking, how do you smuggle it in? And I was like, no.
I'm just not going to acknowledge anything.
Warren is not going to get involved. You know you've gone too far.
I was like, nope.
Samsung post record Q3 profits.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. I think we've pretty much covered a lot of topics this week. But yeah, we should definitely round up. Yeah, it was a fun show. Thank you everyone for chiming in the chat there as well. Now we've come to part of the show where we talk about what we have on the channel right now and what we can expect next week. Mr. Warren Bowman, as always, we kick it off with you. What can we expect and what do you have?
Got nothing right now, but expecting next week some reviews, hopefully, of the Pixel 3 XL. I'm gonna drop that next week, and I got a couple other reviews that I have in mind that I haven't decided which one I'm doing yet.
Okay, cool. Mr. Juan Bagnell, what about you?
Oh man, I've got a ton of stuff out. So I did the LG video. I did an LG V40 versus V30. And I shot it all I produced it all on the V40. I didn't shoot it all, but I did all of the editing and rendering and stuff. So I've just done a follow-up video to that, just kind of talking about some of the production lessons I learned in trying to use the V40 for that level of production. So that's out on the channel right now. The iPhone XS 1 month review has been out for a little bit more than a week. And I think tomorrow night, I think I've got it scheduled for tomorrow night. I'm reviewing the Mi Audio M6 Pro in-ear monitors, and that's part 1 of 2. I'm going to do 2 separate videos, one on the monitors themselves and something else on something else that Mi Audio is doing that I think is really stinking cool that I'm actually wearing right now, biologically customized for my skull. Coming up on the channel, what's that? Yeah, I mean, it's a tease. I mean, you got to watch the video tomorrow night because I tease it better.
Can you take off your hat? Just you know.
No. I mean, it's just the in-ear monitor. It's just it's inside. It's literally inside my skull right now.
Literally well fitted too.
Yeah, I mean, it's again like biologically fitted for my particular biology, and not prohibitively expensively at that.
Sorry,
so,
what?
I've got a couple other videos coming out. I'm going to be doing some accessory roundups. My experience with a couple different iPhone case manufacturers, a company that I would recommend not buying from in the near future until they fix some major issues with their products. And then obviously, I think a lot of us are going to be digging into some OnePlus 6T coverage. So I just took mine out of the box this morning. I had it out of the box last night, put it back in the box, did some night shoots with it, but the OnePlus 6T is going to be coming up. I'm going to be circling back to the Mate 20. I'm going to be circling back to the Razer Phone 2 just to kind of wrap up holiday stuff too. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming out on that channel alongside the Monday morning podcasts that I do and Newegg Now on Thursdays. We're in the middle of what they call Black November. So some of the best deals on tech that they're going to be talking about are all going to be happening this month. So on those Thursday shows, then we also do the time limited stuff. So if you want to shop stuff for your PC builds or for any of your tech or gadget concerns, now would be the time to tune in. Okay,
cool. I need a new processor. I'll check it out. On my end, I'm doing a comparison between the OnePlus 6T, the Pixel 3 XL, and the Huawei Mate 20 Pro. I keep doing P20. Mate 20 Pro's night modes, all 3. So we'll see how it all turns out. I should have that video soon. We'll also have a video. I started a new series called Should I Buy? I put out a questionnaire on YouTube here on what's the next product I should feature, and the next product will be the Pixel 3 XL. So stay tuned for that this week on whether it's a product you should buy or not, or why you should and why you shouldn't buy it. So we'll have to wait and see. There will be some other comparison videos. I will be doing one on the OnePlus 6T versus the iPhone XR. I figure that's a good comparison on a sort of budget scale, even though one isn't budget, but that's the only budget that's available on the other side. So we'll have that for you next week, and then we'll probably start going into some 30-day reviews as we get into the holidays. I'll have my iPhone 10s Max 30-day, actually 35 or 40-day review come up pretty soon, and V40 and a few other devices. Plus, I know some of you are still waiting for this. The Pixel 3 XL, next week we'll have our professional camera review from Marian on that. And then we will also have the Mate 20 Pro after that, so stay tuned for those videos. So it's going to be a packed week on the channel right now. I've got a car video. Yeah, I was like, I can't remember what I have on the channel. I drove my first hydrogen fuel cell car. It's from Hyundai. It's called the Hyundai Nexo. It was really fun. Definitely check out the video. It's a very different type of vehicle to drive. Still feels like a car, but so a very different experience. We also have our professional camera review part 2 of the LG V40. And I know you LG fans are not happy, and you're still not going to be happy. I can spoil it for you right now if you haven't watched it. And then we've got some coverage on the OnePlus 6T. We have a YouTubers react with the kernel, and we also have our shit or buy segment for the OnePlus 6T. And then finally, we dropped a tips and tricks for the Mate 20 Pro. Brand new UI, new features on that device. Again, it's one of the most feature-packed devices of the year. So if you're looking to pick it up, definitely check that out, because there are some things that you might find, how to easily do them on the device. And that is it, guys. Thank you very much for watching the show. It was fun. Want to thank everyone for chiming in the chat. It was good to conversate and discuss with you guys and all that fun stuff. Definitely check out all the channels. Sign up with Mr. Warren Bowman at bw1.com. You can follow him there on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on his own website, bw1.com, as well as Mr. Juan Carlos Bagnell. Follow him at Some Catch Guy on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and IGTV, because he's now there.
I have a video on IGTV.
Yeah, I stated that last week. You weren't there, man. I was like, he told me it was going to be probably next year, but he caved in. So you know what? I win the bet. So send over that $100.
You did win that bet. And I also have to throw in $5 to the swear jar. So you'll get that PayPal sometime.
Hey, we have a swear jar?
Now we do.
We do now. Juan dropped a hard F-bomb. So yeah, we should probably rein that in.
Yeah. And also you can follow him on Newegg Now. It's got a show there on Thursdays, 1 p.m. Eastern time. You can check him out. And myself, Sam, aka Black_ Iron Man, right there. Follow him on Twitter and also on Instagram. You can find him there with that handle. And myself, it is Booredatwork on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And you can also follow us on our website. It's Booredatwork.com. Thank you very much. And always enjoy your entertainment.